Hey guys, welcome back. We have a new week of astrology to get into. I do think this week finally is a bit of a de-escalation point, especially as we get towards the end of the week. Now, we do still start out the week in some extreme levels of tension, contention, conflict-oriented energy going on. Mars and Pluto are still in a very tight opposition to get our week started, but as we move through the week towards the weekend, this energy begins to wane, separate, dissipate, and that should help to alleviate some of this tension going on. We also have a Gemini moon that is coming in Tuesday into Wednesday. This should lighten the vibe as well, maybe bring in some good news, opportunities, options. Things should just start feeling a bit less heavy and maybe pressing as we move Tuesday into Wednesday. And then by the time we get to Thursday and Friday, we've got a Cancer moon going on. Venus also changes signs this week, leaves Pisces, enters Aries, comes into a conjunction with Neptune. Rest, relaxation, the need or the very strong desire to just like take a break, cut loose, maybe even just like play or enjoy something, not take things so seriously. And TLC is a good direction to focus our energy in as we get towards the end of the week. Now on Monday, this is definitely, I would say, the most intense energy of our week. We also have the moon in Taurus coming into a conjunction with Uranus in the sign of Taurus at the fixed star L goal on Monday. So honestly, it could be brutal Monday. Like Monday is still holdover from this intensity that we've had going on the past couple weeks, but Tuesday, Wednesday, you guys, things should definitely shift, and by the end of the week, a much needed break might be coming our way. So we've got a lot to talk about. Let's get into it, put it all together, take a good look at how our energetic blueprint is setting itself up for us as we get our week started and what things are looking like as we move through the week and towards the weekend. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. Today is Monday, April 28th, 2025. My name is Aubrey. This is your astrological outlook of the day where we are narrating the shift of the ages. And if you guys stick with me until the end of this report, I've done a collective tarot reading for us today as well. I like to tap the energy field from more than one modality whenever I'm doing these energy overviews, just to get an alternative energetic perspective on what's going on out there. So there could be some messages in there for you. We're going to do that at the end. We're going to start with the astrology. Welcome to Taurus season, you guys. We had our new moon in Taurus happen yesterday on the 27th, and we still have the moon transiting through Taurus as we open our week. As I said in my intro, the moon will come into a conjunction with Uranus, which could be causing a little bit of shakeups maybe as we get the week started. It is a bit of a bumpy start to the week, but just hold on, you guys, because as we do move through the week, as I said, by the time that the Cancer moon comes in Thursday into Friday and Venus enters Aries and begins conjoining the North Node, I do think we're going to be finding ways to just maybe get some extra rest, get caught up on sleep, do something that we enjoy, disconnect from reality or maybe just like everything that we've been going through in a more positive or pleasant, pleasure-oriented way. Like there's something nourishing to the soul that is being supported as we move through the weekend. So maybe you just want to keep that in mind if you still feel like everything is just unbearable, maybe, getting the week started. Mars and Pluto on Monday still are in a very tight opposition with each other. This is one of the most intense aspects in all of astrology. We have these two powerful forces facing off against one another. This is not energy that comes around all the time. We only have it about once every 2 years or so, and we've been moving through that. We've also had the Saturn North Node conjunction going on, which is also heavy, also pressure inducing, also like really laying on thick. I was saying in one of my recent videos that I felt like we were just kind of being juiced. It's like a pressure cooker out there, and your life and experiences may have been reflecting that over this past couple weeks. And you know, Monday may feel like a page out of that same book, but I'm telling you, Tuesday there should be some type of shift coming through when the moon leaves Taurus, enters Gemini, lightens the vibe a little bit. And then on Wednesday we have the moon Jupiter conjunction in the sign of Gemini. This could bring some good news, this could bring some opportunities, this could bring some good ideas about something, or it could just generally like open our mind up, or it could just have us like really busy, run all over the place, pulled in many different directions. Very conversational energy. very like information oriented energy, like big ideas. Maybe there could be some like big meetings or big deals or big negotiations and stuff like that underway. Although I will say, and this is one of the major themes I'm going to be talking about in my report for today and probably for a good portion of the month of May, and this is not something new because it's been emphasized energetically and I've been talking about it for a while now, but as we move into the month of May, just like in the month of April that we were coming out of right now, I'm still not seeing like tremendous financial or relational stability going on here. There could be like financial conflicts, relationship conflicts that are coming up in this energy, and I don't think it's the best time for deals, negotiations, investments, and commitments and stuff like that. On the flip side of that, again, I still feel like as we move through May, a lot of people are probably pulling out of things. Like this is dissolving things. I feel like things could be like coming apart or coming loose along the lines of like deals or negotiations or commitments or, I don't know, settlements. I don't know what it is, like things that have been set in place to go a certain way. And there could be some flux going on along those lines, and I'm just bringing that up because I had mentioned how there could be some like big deals or negotiations or something, sales maybe on the table as we move through the week with the Moon, Jupiter, Gemini influence. So, you know, just pay attention, make sure that you are really like dotting your I's and crossing your T's if you've got some type of like big purchase or, you know, contract or something on the table this week. Venus is going to be coming into a conjunction with Neptune. That is a desire that, I mean, Venus is what we want. Neptune is like, Neptune does not want things to be hard, does not want things to be challenging, does not make things clear and concise. There could just be an avoidance of details or like important, more difficult or challenging aspects of something that we kind of want to like gloss over or avoid or not pay attention to that could be of some relevance or importance somehow. So I don't know, just pay attention if you've got something like that going on. This could also be like kind of in that same regard, people being very, very charming and persuasive in order to achieve some outcome or get what they want, and there's not a huge element of honesty that's necessarily involved there. So just some things to be mindful of in the context of, you know, anything that you might find yourself considering committing to as we move through this energy. But you guys, I was really wanting to open this report by saying welcome to Taurus season, which I did, but also we are now entering Uranus season as Uranus is transiting the sign of Taurus, which means that we are going to be having Uranus and Taurus conjunctions coming up, and there's going to be a highlight on the Uranian energy as we move through this month of May. The Sun is going to conjunct Uranus on May 17th. We're going to have Mercury conjunct Uranus on May 24th. We also have Pluto stationing retrograde in Aquarius, which is ruled by Uranus, and that's going to amplify the impact, I think, of the Uranian energy to an extent, and that's happening on May 4th. The next video, actually, we're going to be talking about Pluto's retrograde. This is another like heavy-hitting, powerful energy that we're probably going to be feeling. It's probably going to create some tangible impacts that we see play out, and so you don't want to miss the next video because that's where we're going to be taking a look at that. As I said, that happens May 4th. We also currently have Uranus, as Uranus is preparing to be like more activated and conjuncted by these personal planets in an exact trine and sextile to the nodes of the moon, which is a super, super karmic influence. And of course, not to mention, Saturn is also in a conjunction to the north node and therefore a sextile to Uranus right now as well. So that is also emphasizing the Uranian energy, which is going to be a highlight as we move through May. And lastly, but also I think of some relevance, Uranus is at 26 degrees of Taurus from the Western zodiac. That is the degree location of the fixed star Algol, which is like notoriously known to be a rather difficult energy in ancient astrology. This was considered a demon star. It's associated with the Medusa mythology, and it can have to do with things just being kind of cutthroat or losing our mind, losing our head, or like literal like decapitation of things or events or situations, you know, like heads will roll off with their heads. Those type of sayings, those type of phrases would be associated with energy like this. And because it's Uranus, this could be things happening shockingly, unexpectedly, and this energy is present through the 13th of May. Uranus will be at that specific degree, and of course on the days where the moon is aspecting Uranus at those degrees, that energy is even more emphasized in the context of all of this other Uranian energy that we have going on. And we have one of those days going on Monday, you guys. The moon will come into the conjunction with Uranus at Algol, and this could be more of, again, like with Pluto opposite Mars and Uranus at Algol with the moon there, if we were going to see any type of like violent manifestations in association with the archetypes of that fixed star, Monday would be, you know, a potential opportunity where something like that would be more likely to manifest because of, especially, I mean, Pluto and Mars in the opposition is already priming the field for like brutality, ruthlessness, like maliciousness, like fierce power struggles and confrontation and contention, you know, violence. And then when we add the Algol situation with Uranus, this is shockingly, unexpectedly. And then when the moon is there, of course, this is activating Uranus at that degree. So, you know, the combination of these energies is making Monday to me probably one of our more red flag days for spontaneous, maybe like just violence or unexpected things along those lines to potentially pop off. Okay, so again, another good day to just have some enhanced, maybe like self-awareness, situational awareness, mindfulness, and, you know, it's good to have a greater understanding of the forces at play right now, whether we are personally seeing them manifest in our individual lives or not. Just good to know. Okay, so that's what's going on with Uranus. That's why I'm perceiving this as not only, you know, Taurus season, but also very much Uranus season right now. And another thing that we need to keep in mind in the context of this being both Taurus season and Uranus season, because Uranus is transiting through Taurus. Taurus is ruled by Venus, you guys. And whenever there's a lot of planetary activity going on in a sign, the ruler of that sign's position and, you know, just kind of situation out there is going to impact the way that the energy activating in that sign is manifesting and expressing itself. So what's happening with Venus right now, considering that she's the ruler of the sign of Taurus, where all of this Taurian activity is going on as we move through Taurus season, is going to be very relevant in what we see play out, okay? And that's another reason why I'm like, yeah, it's Taurus season, like this is the growing season, but literally like Venus starts out Taurus season in the very, very last degrees of the sign of Pisces. Talked about that in my last video about the new moon in Taurus. And then as soon as she leaves Taurus, enters the sign of Aries, the first thing she does is come into a conjunction with Neptune, which is another energy just like, I mean, Neptune's the ruler of a sign of Pisces. Venus in Pisces and Venus conjunct Neptune is a very similar vibe. And this is not energy that is supporting like growth and abundance and stability and fruitfulness and security. Like this is energy that is breaking things down, that is eroding, dissolving, dissipating things like coming loose here. And then as we move through the month of May and Venus continues her transit through the sign of Aries, which Venus in Aries also can be more like conflict oriented in terms of the Venus archetypes and what she represents, relationships and finances. Aries, of course, ruled by Mars. This can have a lot to do with like battle and conflict and being assertive. Like Venus in the sign of Aries is a very assertive energy. Now, not at first this time around because Neptune is there. So, Whereas Venus Aries can tend to be a more like ego-oriented energy in terms of like getting what we want. It's not going to start out that way to the same extent, because there actually could be some like ego breakdowns and some disillusionment that's going on, I think, in that regard. Maybe not knowing who we are anymore and questioning what it is that we even truly want as we begin moving through this month of May. I do think there could be sort of like a reevaluation in terms of our desires and priorities that come with this, but generally Venus and Aries, and as Venus does continue to move through Aries, this is an energy where we are like willing to fight for what we want. Okay, Venus is what we want, Venus is what we desire. You know, also peace and balance and like what's just and fair. In the sign of the warrior, Venus can just not hide from a conflict and be much more assertive in going after her objectives, or, you know, that would translate into people generally being more willing to kind of like pursue their desires in a like active way as we move through any Venus and Aries transit. So in consideration then of our Taurus season, with Venus entering Aries on one hand, this, as I said, can create just a more primed environment for certain types of conflicts having to do with the Venus energy, and Venus hitting Neptune right off. And then, of course, Uranus in the sign of Taurus being emphasized here. And as Venus continues to transit through the sign of Aries, we also have Chiron in Aries right now as well. Chiron, of course, is like pain, wounding, trauma. It also has to do with money. It also has to do with wealth. It also has to do with healing and ultimately self-mastery and karmic liberation, but it's a process to get there. It's a journey to get there. With Chiron in the sign of Aries, this is emphasizing kind of a collective hero's journey right now to overcome previous states of victimhood that had caused us to surrender personal power for one reason or another, and reclaim that personal power and begin a process of moving towards a greater sense of self-actualization. Ultimately, one thing that we need to remember and keep in mind, it's very important as we move through this time and like everything comes to pass that seems to be indicated here, this is about, at the end of the day, removing blockages to growth so that things can start to grow and move forward in a way that is ultimately going to make them more purposeful, more productive, more successful, more abundant, and more fulfilling. But it's like, to get to that point, for whatever reason, perhaps because of either like how far we've gotten off track, or just like the amount of adjustment that needs to occur in order to get back to that place where true growth can begin a process of coming into fruition, there just seems to be like a bit of like hardship that needs to be endured. And as I said, you know, with Venus transiting through Aries, coming into the conjunction with Neptune, coming into the conjunction with Chiron, while we're moving through Taurus season, and we've also got all of these Taurian Uranian conjunctions going on, there could just be some like shocking change, or again like sudden unexpected upsets. We could be like feeling the pain in some type of a way, on a financial level, on a relational level, but ultimately we are going to discover that, I'm telling you, going down the road, whatever it is, we're glad that we're going through it now, because it actually is gonna make things easier in the future somehow. I don't know, you guys, that is just the way that this seems to be laying itself out. Now, of course, that doesn't make it any easier. That doesn't remove the levels of, you know, trial and tribulation type of vibes that we might personally be enduring as we do move through this next couple of months. But on a greater level, like on a greater cosmic level, there is something necessary that's happening right now that is actually rectifying, clearing, cleansing, purging, reconfiguring, redirecting the way that things are established, so that there can be some exponential growth in a positive direction that takes place once things have rearranged themselves somehow. But, you know, in the meantime, moving through that process, it could just be another bumpy month. Now, that being said, I do think that we are going to get a break by the time that we get to the end of the week, but this is Uranus season that is incoming. Uranus is expect the unexpected in the sign of Taurus. This is, you know, the shaking foundations, and at that Algol placement, it's just a little bit precarious out there, you guys. So, on the other hand, though, Neptune and Venus coming together in the sign of Aries, this is also true compassion, true idealism, this like divine vision, higher vision perhaps, that is inspiring or motivating action. Spiritual connection also, or our relationship to a higher power, is an important part of our journey right now. I think that, and you know, I keep saying this year and a half that we're moving through right now as the North Node transits sign of Pisces, there is a phase of spiritual growth that we're all going through collectively. And this Venus Neptune in the very beginning of Aries conjunction that we have going on this week may somehow be emphasizing some facet of an expansion in or deeper connection to a higher power or our higher selves or something beyond us or beyond this world somehow, with Venus in the sign of Aries with Neptune. Again, though, watch people who have issues with like drugs and alcohol and are like suicidal tendencies and stuff like that, especially as we get the week started. Venus still like at the brink of the end of Pisces, moving into Aries, coming into that conjunction. The desire to disconnect could be a little bit overwhelming also, as we do still have this pressure withstanding as we enter the week, and Mars and Pluto are still in their opposition with one another. So Venus's transit through Aries at this point in time, with Neptune and Chiron in the sign of Aries, Mars opposite Pluto, and also the Taurus energy that we have going on generally right now. This just is not screaming, as I said, material abundance, security, like pleasure, stability to me. With the Algol feature there, something again like it could be very cutthroat about the times in one way or another, wounding, pain, and trauma with the Chiron element, vulnerability, but also on the other side of that, healing, true worth, true wealth, true value, mastery, and mastery over the self as an ultimate outcome of whatever journey or whatever, you know, issues we're navigating as we do move forward through this period of time. So could be another month, Taurus energy ruled by Venus, Venus and Aries with these planets, you know, with the Chiron element, with the Neptunian element, relational pain, relational loss, financial situations along those lines, but it's as a part of this larger restoration of value and creative potential or individual purpose that like cannot fully come online unless whatever this element of the situation that is like being brought as a result of these activations coming in as we move through this month of May is like resolved. Whatever comes from whatever we're going through now is playing some important role actually in like opening things up so that they can start getting better moving forward. As I said, the entire cosmic push here is removing blockages to growth, reactivating authentic value, authentic worth, authentic purpose, authentic potential. And also, as I was mentioning, bringing up earlier, like the ego is, I think, being refined in some way here as well, really redefining who it is we really are and what we really want in connection with this kind of new identity that we are embracing as Venus enters Aries this year. Like it's so interesting because Neptune breaks things down. Neptune in the early degree of sign of Aries, that's like a breakdown of the ego. Venus is there as well. It's like this embrace of the breakdown of some old identity. And then as Venus continues to move through Aries, you know, maybe that Chiron element breaks down that attachment to the ego even more, but there could be some karmic release that's associated with that as we then like begin to embrace the new identity that is emerging now and all that that represents and how that redefines our life. I feel like that is kind of the path that this energy might sort of be nudging us along or just kind of aligning us with maybe as we move forward in this period of time. There could also be, I think, you know, with the Neptune, Venus, Aries element, like an active desire to give things away, to simplify, to like get rid of material possessions, to donate belongings maybe that were associated with this old version of ourselves that we are surrendering to the breakdown of right now, as we kind of embrace the emergence of this new identity that is beginning to like become more clear to us as we move through this period of time, as we move through May, embracing surrender or surrendering to a new way forward. These could both be relevant themes with that kind of alignment going on. Random side note here as well, Venus also, I mean, Venus rules the heart. With Venus and Neptune together in the beginning of Aries, this could also indicate like an uptick in health issues to me related to the heart that like spontaneously pop up through the month of May. So that may be something that is just like a more common occurrence as we move through this period of time with those specific alignments. But as I mentioned earlier, I kind of went off on a little tangent about earlier, but this is where it's actually located in my notes. Not the greatest month to me for, again, like making these financial or relational commitments or investments. It's good for like testing the water, you know what I mean? Getting a sense of things, seeing how people react and respond, being a bit of a detective, being like observant, really paying attention, and being very self-aware as well as to like our own inner drives and motivations and what's going on inside of us, transformations and the shifts in how we're perceiving things that is maybe like altering what we want to head towards. But you know, just be cautious with things that are very commitment or investment oriented right now, because you know, with Venus and Neptune together, this is not it doesn't support like, again, like the proper growth of things. Like things are being fixed so that they can grow properly, but like classic Venus Neptune, it's like you don't want to get into a relationship because it's not going to turn into anything. It's like trying to build a sandcastle at the foot of the tide, you know? It's just like you can put a lot of time and energy into it and you can create something that looks really beautiful for about 5 minutes until it gets washed away. Like it can often lead to disappointment when we enter into or try to achieve a vision or an ideal that we were caught in somehow when the Neptune Venus energy is present. It is very idealistic. It is very lofty. It's like high heart vision, very compassion, you know, very altruistic and stuff like that. Like we really want to see the best in people and places and situations, believe anything is possible. That's also maybe a little bit of a cautionary red flag as we move through the week and the moon enters Gemini and comes in the conjunction with Jupiter. Again, like be careful what you're buying into this week. Be careful what you're being sold on. Be careful what you're committing to, because this is also kind of more like fraudster type of energy. Venus and Neptune can be very like silver tongue, you know what I mean? Like very manipulative, not even necessarily from a bad place, but this belief in the ideal that perhaps is not actually possible, but kind of like selling it like it is. That would be a vibe here. And we know that Neptune does not provide a lot of clarity, like things are not as they seem. This is very rose-colored glasses oriented type of energy. And then with the moon transiting Gemini and coming into conjunction with Jupiter, this is salesman energy. This is like contracts, deals, negotiations, lots of energy, or well, of course, lots of energy, but lots of information and stuff like that. So things could sound really good. Like this is people very charming, a lot of charisma, almost like fantasy level beauty or appeal or magnetism about stuff with Neptune and Venus coming together. Like people really could be playing on people's dreams or ideals or visions and selling them their like perfect projection of, you know, what they think they want, but really it's just like a sandcastle in the sky or at the foot of the ocean, and it's not what we thought it was. So be mindful, you guys. Don't get sold something thinking it's this beautiful grand vision of what you've always idealized and wanted, but then you come to realize later that it was always some type of like facade or something like that, because that is possible in this energy. as well. I personally feel like things are illusionary right now. Things are uncertain and insecure and unstable and unpredictable, as I said, with all of this Uranian energy that is being emphasized with the moon in a conjunction to Uranus, and the sun in the sign of Taurus with Uranus, and Uranus also an exact aspect to the nodes of the moon right now. That's another thing. Like, this is a time of profound corrections going on. You know, it's been hitting from all angles. I've been talking about these repeating patterns. To me, as an astrologer, that's always one of the biggest ways to get a read on the energy. It's like the more angles from which the same things are repeating, the more, to me, I interpret that as like flashing lights that like this is what's going on, like this is what this time is about, like these are the themes being highlighted. And at this time and over this past couple months, like I just cannot get away from these repeating patterns that just continue to be popping up everywhere about karmic release and sudden change that is going on, and the breakdown of like the past ways of being in a way that is extremely corrective and that is ultimately leading to the ability for things to become what they're truly meant to be, instead of for things to become a distorted version of themselves because there was some inversion going on in their understanding of like what they really were, or in the way that they've been nurtured, so that they haven't been able to like align energetically with what it is that they've like truly been meant to become. And you know, now we are moving through the Pluto Aquarius generation. Pluto transits Aquarius over the next 20 years. I perceive that as a very anchoring energy in terms of the larger age of Aquarius that has been building over the past couple hundred years, will continue to build over this next couple hundred years, but I do think is going to become very noticeable now and moving forward. By the time we get 50 years down the road from now, I'm telling you, it's going to be very obvious collectively that a major paradigm shift took place that started around 2025, this period of time. That's what we're living through. That's what we're working through. That's what we're moving through. That's what we're adapting to as this energy comes in right now. I'm telling you guys, like, there is an energetic spiritual significance to the times right now that is beyond what we can understand at this moment, but our energy bodies are being recalibrated to adjust to and to anchor the larger age of Aquarius that's coming in. Like, at the end of the day, that's what this is like ultimately energetically about, I think. And removing blockages to growth is the most basic way that is I think being expressed. And everything, most things I think that we're seeing right now, at their core, at their root, are going to have an element that is making changes that are facilitating changes that remove blockages to growth. And you know, the whole way, again, all these repeating patterns coming together, speaking ultimately to that very concept. And we're just not going to be able to stay connected to, utilizing, participating in, or with things that are out of authentic alignment, or that are expressing themselves as something that they're not, or are being given a faulty or a false value for some reason. Like, that's just not that's not going to be supported as we move forward. So therefore, essentially, like, everything that is not exactly what it is, or that is not exactly meant for us, is getting adjusted right now. And that is also probably lending itself to a bit of the intensity and the major change that is playing out very collectively, microcosm, macrocosm out there. And Pluto, as I said, Pluto actually stations retrograde in Aquarius this week as well on the 4th. We're gonna, as I mentioned earlier, that will be our topic in our next video. But this is also going to be a catalyst, I think, that is going to force some powerful internalized awakenings and transformations, realizations about who we really are, what we truly value, and what we want as a larger part of this unfolding theme that is so imperative right now in our larger shift and transition of ages that is underway. This next few months is probably going to change us fundamentally as individuals to our very core in a way that is irreversible, but again, also in a way that is self-empowering and ultimately like opens things up for us for the better. Aside from the continuously repeating theme of removing blockages to growth for me right now, another continuous theme that is coming through right here to me is self-empowerment and like regaining personal authority over our lives in some way. For some reason, I feel like as we move forward through 2025 into 2026, a lot of people are going to start, I think, feeling like a lot more empowered and a lot more in control of like various aspects of their life. Like I think a lot of people are going to stop outsourcing things that we generally like let other people or, you know, experts or authorities like handle and take care of for us. I think people are going to realize that maybe they can actually do a better job of that themselves, and maybe they'd actually prefer to do it themselves, or they'd find a greater sense of like fulfillment or something along those lines. Like I think people are going to start taking greater ownership over their own lives as an outcome or result of whatever it is that we're moving through here, which if we go back to that larger unfolding age of Aquarius, that would be the introduction into that energy, which is an age of self-awareness and cosmic expansion. The beginnings of that would be taking more personal ownership, personal accountability, and cultivating our relationship with a higher power and with ourselves in a way that leads ultimately to a more self-actualized, self-masterful state. Enter the Chiron element in the sign of Aries. Self-mastery through the hero's journey and our ability to alchemize and transmute the ego, our instincts, our based wounds and states of victimhood into wisdom and self-mastery that liberates us from these karmic cycles that, you know, maybe had been the source of that original wounding that we went through, but as a result actually free us to more consciously co-create our experience with God, universe, cosmic consciousness, higher power moving forward, because that's what the age of Aquarius is. So, you know what, it's like anything, like there's just little trickles of this energy that are going to be coming online right now. But then as we move forward through the greater next 2,000 years, ultimately that will be the collective experience. So if you are one of like the individual human cells, you know, from a like Mother Earth perspective, that is going through this awakening process right now, going through these experiences, becoming an awakened anchor for this energy, your life is very likely to reflect this cosmic saga that's going on right now as you adjust and recalibrate your energy body to resonate with this incoming energetic tide that's going to be defining the next age of our experience. So it's very significant. It's all purposeful, even though, again, like it's not going to be the easy road. It's probably going to be, you know, the hard way, right? But it's going to be the right way. In the end, Taurus, Venus, it's all this like Venus archetype type of energy that's being pressed on right here now too, which I was saying in my last video also makes sense because Venus energy, that's the first fertility, that's the creative energy, that is, you know, what makes things grow, the womb, the, you know, the feminine energy. And if we're removing blockages to growth, then we need to also therefore be removing distortions to the feminine energy field that perhaps have inverted that process of authentic and proper growth in the past for whatever reason, rooted in whatever karma, which is also being liberated or like expunged right now as a result of whatever it is maybe that we are going through. But the Venus energy is relationships and our relationship to money, value, material possessions, ourselves, other people, and a higher power. So all of that type of stuff could be being purified somehow as we move forward through this period of time. I think a lot of people also with Uranus and a trine to the south node of the moon in Virgo, and I've been saying this as well, a lot of people are going to be making sudden, perhaps even shocking, like spontaneous, spur of the moment, out of the blue lifestyle changes and alterations that are like way for the better, totally changing their life, spontaneously stopping doing things that were just blocking growth ultimately, or not contributing to their personal betterment somehow. I think I think we are going to be trending towards more health consciousness, and as I was saying earlier, like a greater sense of personal accountability and personal awareness of our bodies, of the way they work, of what's good for us personally. It's going to be, I think, our viewpoint and perspective on the way we're taking care of ourselves as individuals moving forward is going to be much more individualized and much less collectivized for some reason, the way that this is coming through. But the South Node is in Virgo right now. That's karmic release. That's letting go of and moving away from the Virgo is our patterns, our routines, our lifestyle, like habits and tendencies, how we care for ourselves and others, what we do on a day-to-day basis, diet, fitness, nutrition. With the South Node there, that is stopping doing things the way that we've been doing them for a long period of time. With Uranus there, Uranus is the galactic fixer. Uranus makes the changes for us we haven't been able to make for ourselves. There could also be health issues that come up right now, suddenly out of the blue, unexpectedly, that force a lifestyle change that ultimately ends up being so much better and literally could unlock some whole new destiny for people that they didn't even know was out there for them because of how they'd been living. I do think a lot of people are going to be going through some resurgence related to health, well-being, lifestyle that puts them more in charge or makes them more aware of their own role in their own health and well-being in a way that really translates into like powerful transformations in the personal experience somehow. This could also, with the Taurus energy and all the Uranus stuff going on right now, it could lead to some type of revolution in like food or farming, land, agriculture, food production. Again, to some maybe sudden, shocking, unexpected, or just like novel, futuristic change or improvement in regards to how we're taking care of ourselves, what we're eating, how we're growing, producing, manufacturing food, and also to remove toxins perhaps associated with the food supply. What has been providing or presenting blockages to growth? What has been distorting the potential of things? What has been inverting the ability for things to grow into their true potential? Taurus is things that come from the earth. This has to do with food production, agriculture, all that type of stuff. There could be, and Uranus is revolutionary energy, there could be some revolution in the context of food that plays into all of this as well. And then again, very, very much about detox going on this Taurus cycle, especially with the black moon over there in Scorpio right now as well, and starting the Taurus cycle with a Mars Scorpio, or with a Mars Pluto opposition going on and square to the sun in Taurus. Detox is a major theme here, and that could definitely be applying to like food sources somehow. A lot could be just revealed along those lines as well. Perhaps a lot that was going on with like, those same themes like food, agriculture, or even just like land, property. And of course, this is also like markets, economies, assets, resources, partnerships, projects, anything along those lines. Could be relationship dynamics as well. But there's likely to be root problems, root issues that are being exposed here somehow also, that are leading to whatever remedy or correction needs to go on in order to remove that blockage to growth. Now, another thing that's going to happen in this month of May, actually on the 25th, Saturn is going to enter the sign of Aries, which is a big vibe shift. Saturn is starting a new cycle around the entire zodiac. And that, I do think, is going to be an energy that does redirect and restructure the way that things are going to begin to come together as we move forward. And this is going to bring in an amplified energy of self-control and self-responsibility and like self-discipline and this personal authority energy that is supported as we move forward through the rest of this year. But another feature of this energy, and to get it started, will be Saturn entering Aries and hitting an exact conjunction to the planet Neptune. So even though Saturn entering Aries is kind of putting us on course for the way that things are going to structure themselves and line themselves up and providing some grounding for the journey ahead, the first part of that could be represented by some collective disillusionment or some like pretty significant breakdown in authority that is preceding the restructuring of things somehow. And that again is coming up as we move through the month of May and head towards June. The exact Saturn enters Aries on the 25th of May, and Neptune is at like 1 degree of Aries right now. So within a week or so of entering Aries, Saturn will come into the exact conjunction with Neptune. So we're getting the month of June actually started off with this Saturn-Neptune conjunction. Breakdowns in authority, you guys. And as I said, maybe this grander sense of disillusionment coming through as like the precedent for the restructuring or the new structure or the new foundation that is going to begin to emerge following that alignment. So all that and more coming up, you guys, this month of May on our cosmic adventure through time and space. Should be a fun time out there. Let's talk a little bit more specifically for just a couple of minutes about how the week is starting itself off, you know, what our general vibes are moving from now through Thursday. Only 2 videos this week. If you guys have been following along my channel, I've been telling you I am moving right now, and I got a bunch of stuff going on in that regard this weekend when I would normally be recording one of my videos. So I'm gonna have to take a rain check on that one, you guys. So my next video is going to be out on Friday. That will be, as I've said 2 times now, I think, Pluto stationing retrograde. Heavy energy, powerful energy. We're gonna talk about that on Friday. I'll put out another video. But this week, in a nutshell, as I've stated, it is the most critical day, the most intense day, the most conflict-oriented day is definitely probably Monday. We do start out the week with Mars and Pluto in a 1 degree orb opposition with each other. That's a very tight opposition in fixed signs, very intense, powerfully confrontational energy. If you guys have been following along, we've been going through this since last week. We talked about it all last week and in the video for the weekend. Venus is at 29 degrees of Pisces as we get this week started. As I mentioned earlier, Uranus is exactly conjunct Algol with the moon there on Monday, and then we have the trines going on to the nodes as well. All of that is literally, I mean, it's quite a brutal energy, to be honest with you, getting us started on Monday with the Uranus Algol moon combo that we've got going on out there. People could be acting shockingly cutthroat about things, maybe very ruthless. Everything may sort of feel like it's on the verge and very unpredictable, change, collapse, transition, maybe not really sure which way it's going to go, or also just knowing that we are about to start something very new and maybe not exactly sure what that's going to look like either. Could be intense, wild, erratic day with that type of Uranian flow going on Monday. Plans could unexpectedly change at the last minute, or there could be some type of shock factor that's involved in the day somehow. You know, violent or vengeful actions could be wrapped up in that too, with the Mars-Pluto opposition and the Algol flavor to it all. So do your best to stay grounded. This is not grounded energy. We actually haven't had grounded energy in quite a while. The only planets that we have transiting earth signs right now are both destabilizing that earth sign energy. And you know, as I said, we've got the moon in Taurus also, which is with Uranus, which is enhancing that with the south node in Virgo and Uranus and Taurus in a trine. Those are both energies in earth signs that are like agitating stability, that are calling for release, that are calling for movement, that are calling for change, that are indicating transition, that are indicating endings happening quickly, happening suddenly in ways that perhaps are out of our control. So therefore, that is definitely going to be a bit of a detriment in terms of how Taurus energy, Virgo energy normally manifests, which is stable, secure, grounded, like assured, practical. That's just not the way that things are expressing themselves out there. And also the moon transiting Taurus is activating the black moon. We've been talking about that the past couple of days as well. Black moon transiting the sign of Taurus. Whenever a planet is transiting in a conjunction or in opposition to the black moon, it activates black moon energy. Black moon in Scorpio energy is fears, worries, insecurities, doubts being triggered, generally centered around loss, can bring up competition, can bring up possessiveness, can bring up obsessiveness, fears, worries, insecurities pressing on us. Could be something that is also contributing to whatever the general vibe is to get the week started. People could be hyper competitive out there, or there could be just some either real or imagined or irrational with the Neptunian influence going on. Also fear, probably monetary related or relationship based, that could be a bit consuming as we launch into our week on Monday. So we are in the thick of things, but then as we move towards Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the moon, as I mentioned earlier in the report, will transit into the sign of Gemini. This, I do think, is going to lighten the vibe and assist in de-escalating some of that tension out there. Also, Mars will begin to move on, wane out the opposition between Pluto and Mars, and that should also de-escalate some of this tension. And then Venus will leave the end of Pisces, enter the sign of Aries, and begin coming into the conjunction with Neptune. There could be, Venus is our desire, right? Neptune is the dream world. Large desire to rest, to take a break, to catch up on sleep, to practice self-care, take it easy, maybe be in or around or on water. There could be therapeutic or healing benefits coming through water as well. Indulging in a book or a fantasy, or just kind of like generally clicking out, clocking out, disengaging from reality this week. That could be kind of the energetic pull, especially after we get through Monday, start moving into Tuesday and heading towards the weekend. And after this hard push and all this intensity in we've had a lot going on at the same time. We've had the Uranian trine with the nodes. We've had Saturn and Venus and the North Node in conjunction. We've had this Grand Cross and fixed signs. This past couple of weeks has been intense, and as that moon hits Gemini, comes into the sign of Cancer, Venus enters Aries and hits the conjunction to Neptune, I think we're just going to be cashed out. And I do think that universe is giving us a bit of a break and allowing us to kind of catch our breath maybe as we do move through the rest of this week. Venus and Neptune in a conjunction, and Aries is fantastic energy for artistry, music, design, and creative inspiration as well. An inspiring creative vision could come through if you are artistically or creatively inclined here, so tap the energy that way. Creativity is a very good way to use the energy that we have available, especially later in the week if you're not just using it to kind of like rest and revitalize yourself. Wednesday, there could be some good news or some positive opportunities or movement that seem to be taking place. That moon in the conjunction to Jupiter and Gemini could be lifting our spirits a bit, broadening our perspective, or maybe just bringing like an influx of some information or some conversations or some interactions that are doing something good for us, or again, just like lightening the vibe for us somehow. Although I do think Wednesday may be a very, very hard day to focus. Like if you've got a lot of work or something that really requires a lot of focus, or just hard work that you need to get done on Wednesday, it may be a super drag. It may be like really, really hard to like stay focused, to stay on like one track of one-track mind. There's a very distracted energy with this Jupiter Moon Gemini situation going on. There could just be a lot going on. You could feel pulled in many different directions, and it is a very busy energy that we've got going on Wednesday. So it just may be a bit of a harder day to like stay on task, stay on topic, and get work done, you know, maybe in like a timely manner. With Venus in the conjunction to Neptune, this can make us feel very playful again, very creative, very like visionary or fantasy oriented. This is not energy that wants to engage in like anything that is hard or like difficult or challenging at all. And then of course with that lunar Gemini Jupiterian influence, news, information, excitement, commotion, opportunities, distractions, noise, thoughts, conversations, tasks, opinions, maybe like pulling on us, tugging us a lot of directions, maybe like even like an inner dialogue or monologue going on that we're just like distracted from whatever the task at hand might be. So we could be kind of being just kind of scattered in the energy of Wednesday, the desire to escape, take a break, very mentally versatile and creative, but just hard to kind of like pin down and stay on one thing. So if that's where you are on Wednesday, it's kind of just the vibe out there. Now Thursday, the moon will enter Cancer and it will square Venus and Neptune in the conjunction Aries. This to me, again, like Venus and Neptune together, this is the desire to like take it easy. Okay, to rest, to get some extra sleep, to just be able to daydream, maybe to not have to work so hard, to not have to be so focused. And again, you know, with the moon in Cancer, this is also nurturing, self-care, very sensitive emotional energy as well. So I recommend, if you can, Thursday into Friday, doing that, taking extra care of yourself, doing some extra nurturing of you or your family, getting some extra sleep, getting some extra rest. I think that is very beneficial. I think that energy is kind of being set up for us to do that this weekend after all that we have navigated over this past couple of weeks. And another thing about the energy Thursday moving into Friday, and we'll of course pick back up on Friday with my next video, this could be a very like there could be emotions coming through. Last week, I was talking about how the energy was kind of requiring us to like put our feelings and emotions about stuff to the side and just focus on the task at hand, like just get it done and, you know, maybe catch up with ourselves later. I think this weekend is when we could be catching up with ourselves. Like everything could be kind of coming out. Maybe there could be some like emotional release valve that gets turned on with the moon entering the sign of Cancer, that is just bringing up maybe some of this emotional energy that had been repressed when we were doing whatever we needed to get done over this past couple of weeks. So could be a day when feelings and emotions could be flooding out. Let them do that in this energy. It is a good day with the moon in Cancer and, you know, even the Venus Neptune situation to feel your feelings. Water also could have a greater than normal therapeutic value or quality this week somehow. So I would recommend, if you can, getting in on or around water. Neptune and Venus there, that's like, you know, wanting to be in that type of environment. And then with the moon in Cancer as well, obviously the moon in her sign of rulership and obviously the water sign of Cancer. Make sure you're drinking enough water, maybe some extra water this week as well, because this is energy, right, that it is supporting this detox and this flush also. So that's what I have for the astrology. That brings us to the end of my prepared notes for the day. That's all my opinions on how this energy could be manifesting, expressing, representing itself out there as we move through the next week. Now I want to talk about the tarot for just a minute. We just have a quick tarot reading today. We just had a couple of cards coming out, but they are on one hand, I think, offering a bit of a depiction of what it is that we may be perceiving, but on the back end of that, they're also offering, to me, a level of comfort in terms of where, you know, what's really going on as opposed to maybe how it feels as we get the week started. Okay, so the first card that I had coming out was Justice card in reverse, and then on the back of the deck I had the Wheel of Fortune coming out in reverse. It may feel like things are honestly just a bit upside down. Again, like shakeups, upsets in comfort zones, things that we thought were happening come to find out suddenly they're not. It could be a bit jarring. Things could feel unfair or uncertain or unbalanced, or just like well, very karmic in nature perhaps, or just like creating a bit of upsetting the peace type of energy going on. You know, could be something, or it could also be something that just like continues to feel like it's dragging on, like we can't get released from it, like we're trying to get out of something, like it's never gonna end, like when is this gonna turn around, you know? But then the other card that we had coming out was the Queen of Swords, and then underneath the World in reverse on the back of the deck I had the Nine of Swords in reverse, the Four of Swords, under that the Hangman, actually under that the Fool, under that the Magician, and then actually under that the Devil in reverse. And I mean, that's like telling a whole story to me as I pick up those cards. Like whatever it is that we are perceiving maybe as like not being right, or being upside down, or being backwards, or not being what we thought that it was, with the Nine of Swords in reverse, it's actually not something that we need to worry about, okay? Like as much as maybe we thought we needed to worry about it. And then under that, I had the Four of Swords. This is actually talking about like taking a pause, taking a rest, like trying not to stress out about it. Actually, the more difficult battle has like already been waged, and like we made it through that. And I don't know, like it seems like we don't need to worry about things maybe as much as we think that we need to worry about things. With the Hanged Man there, that's also a shift in perspective that is necessary. And then we've got the Fool, in order for these new beginnings to come, which is actually where we're headed. The Magician, which is discovering our personal power to go in a new direction, be more self-directed, and move ourselves forward. And the Devil in reverse, because of having overcome something within ourselves that had been keeping us attached to, I don't know, places that we were surrendering our power and not being able to move ourselves forward in like the direction that was more truly aligned with us somehow, maybe because of that. But also, you know, then we have the Queen of Swords coming through. There could be some law, some rule, some order, or even like some clarity that is coming through somehow, that is, or you could like get some type of information or something that makes you think that maybe things aren't as you thought they were, or creates some type of upset or sudden shift that makes things appear to be not moving forward. But again, with the Nine of Swords in reverse, like when I see the Nine of Swords, I'm not ever like, yay, but when I see it in reverse, I'm like, whew, this is not as serious as we thought it was. And then with the Four of Swords behind there backing it up, that is like it's literally, the card is literally about like a soldier having made it safely through a battle, and like being able to rest safely after participating in something that was potentially maybe or like very dangerous or like life-threatening, you know, like going to battle and like making it home and being able to rest, pause, give thanks, and just be in a moment of gratitude for having safely made it through the battle. So with those cards backing up the World in reverse and the Justice in reverse and the Queen of Swords there, it's, for whatever reason, whatever it is, I don't think that ultimately we need to be as worried about it as we may think that we do, based on maybe the authority involved with it or something when we receive the information, or whatever. So I don't know, but that's what I have to say about that tarot reading there. And we're gonna get one more card now, a synchronicity card. I am going to ask God, Spirit, Universe, one more piece of guidance or advice. What do we need to know? What should we keep in mind? What should we remember? What should we tell ourselves as we get this week started and begin moving through this week? What would be some good guidance to keep in the back or the front of our mind? And our card says you will be guided. which is not surprising. Again, there's a very profound spiritual influence going on right now, a collective phase of spiritual growth that we are moving through. These are times of highly both fated and karmic and divine intervention oriented stuff playing out, and Neptune is the planet associated with everything otherworldly, everything unseen forces, higher power, and Venus is coming there this week. Very strong emphasis on that energy and the spiritual connection represented through that as well. And our guidance is that you will be guided. Sent his angel to show the things which shortly must be done. Revelation 22:6. Shortly, you will be shown the direction you should take. The way will open up for you to move forward. Seize the opportunity that comes to you. Know you are being divinely guided. Listen to the voice within. Right on point, you guys. As I said, as we move through this week, the vibe should shift. Things should open up. There could be some good news or some opportunities, something that, you know, comes in as we get towards the middle of the week, and it should somehow begin to ease the tension, ease the stress, and put us in a place where maybe we can relax as we head towards the weekend. So spiritual guidance all around, you guys. I would definitely cultivate your relationship with a higher power during this time. And that's what I have to say today. Message from the stars, a message from the cards. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, you guys. Share it with your friends if you think they would enjoy this type of astrology content as well. Leave me comments. I am so grateful for your presence and your contribution to my channel, you guys. Your input and what you have to say is very valuable to me. If you are having experiences that line up with what I'm talking about in these videos, please let me know in my comment section below. If you want to know what's on this whiteboard over here, I post images of the whiteboards in a Facebook group that I have linked in my description box below. And come back with me, you guys, on not Wednesday this week, on Friday. I will be back. We've got Pluto energy to talk about, and I will be here to do just that, so you don't want to miss it. I will see you then, everybody. Have a beautiful week, and until Friday, bye guys.